So Pharrell has finally responded to Drake, and you know I'm here for it. If you didn't know, which you should know, Drake has been having a little beef with the whole Pusha T Pharrell, even before the Kendrick thing. And when he got Pharrell's chains, melted him down, and then even on his last the music video, I think Family Matters, he was like, your boss's legacy is come get it out of my house and stuff. So he's been taking shots at Pharrell. We've been waiting at Pharrell to respond
recently, as day after day. It seems like between his own declining reputation and status as a rapper,
Pharrell, you supposed to be happy. Come along if you. Ladies and gentlemen, hip hop's a sport. Yeah. Ain't no time for no passive players. Is you playing, is you not? Pharrell said, yeah, give me the ball. Give me the ball.
To him and his actions,
finally. Link in the pinned comment. Go grab you the hoodie. It's going down. Yeah, I'm sending personal thank yous this week to everybody who grabbed one.
Being addressed by a lot of big names in hip-hop culture. All in all, Drake is finally getting his full reckoning in a lot of ways for not just everything that went down between him and Kendrick Lamar, for all the antics and tricks he tried to pull to take some sort of victory in that beef alone, but also for all the other sneak dissing and instigating he has been doing to other artists for the past few years on
He's been on Crash Out mode.
Laws for all the dogs, and throughout a ton of his features, and now most recently. Drake's been officially addressed by someone who, while not being directly engaged in conflict with him, still has been one of the most pivotal names in Drake's career in terms of determining where this spiral has been on started and where it's eventually going to end in none other than Pharrell Williams.
I would argue that Pharrell and Drake have had a Cold War beef, and they've actually been involved like back and forth, where I kind of disagree or push back a little bit when he says Pharrell hasn't really. No. I think they've been having a cold little war with the whole Minion song where he did that thing about Drake, where if you think that Drake beefing with Pusha T as hard as he did and how Pharrell and Pusha are, that was nothing. And if you thought that Drake buying Pharrell's chains wasn't shots, see, sometimes people be missing shots because they miss the context. No, those were shots, and that's why he told in that song, I melted him down. That's why he melted him down, to try to kill his legacy. Because if those chains was an era, those chains, that bathing ape era, that billionaire boy era, that Nico era, so he basically took him, melted him down, and said, F that. That's what he said.
Pharrell Williams. And now, after years of not just the Kendrick beef, but years of Drake targeting Pharrell because of how bitter he was about the end result of his beef with Pusha T, Drake has finally got what he deserved from Pharrell. But before we get into this, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. It helps me out a ton.
And I will say this too. This entire thing, before even, because Drake and Kendrick, you zoom out one, then you realize that that started with Pusha and Drake. Then you zoom out again, and you realize that really started with the Clips and Lil Wayne. And you zoom out again, and it's really the Clips and Baby and Pharrell. So it's like, no, Pharrell's always been a part of this. He's always been on the other side than them niggas. He's always been.
Drake, because Pharrell and Push were such close
Star Trek
and friends, a few years ago it made him figure that he could start something back up or win some sort of ground back in this feud with Push by going after Pharrell, which of course at the core of this mission from Drake, the goal of this was really just to annoy Pharrell until he or Push broke and crashed out on him. And Drake's big attempt at making this happen was when Pharrell was auctioning up his chains for his non-profit.
This is what I gotta tell niggas. This picture is a picture that lays in the annexes of hip-hop history. This picture goes up there with the camera on, with the pink cell phone and the pink fur. This goes up there with those type of pictures. Because this represents an era. The way he's dressed, the chains, even the way that the chains were back then, the multicolored, the links, when I look at this, it takes me right back to that skateboard Bape era, billionaire boy, right to it, man.
Which is designed to give money to entrepreneurs. Which, when it comes to telling this story,
so melting them down has
often
significant.
In all of this situation, but is so important.
It's a significant thing.
As Pharrell put these chains up to help put investment back into other people that would hopefully change their lives, Drake went and bought these chains and then started a 2-year campaign where he would pop out wearing them and pretty much try to show the world and prove the point that he conquered Pharrell, Push, and everything they ever stood for.
And they're all shots.
Those are all shots. We saw this reach its climax during Drake's Jumbo.
Yeah, which is why on Drake's diss track, he's a lot of those are about, was it Family Matters or? Yeah, I think it was Family Matters where he had it in the music video.
John
That's why.
Poppin video from the Her Loss era, where he was repping these chains in so many different shots and made distinct points in the video to flash them directly to the camera so everyone knew that these are indeed the real and official pieces of jewelry.
Drake do that. Those are sneak shots.
And ultimately, following these,
like Kendrick said, I hate the way that you sneak this. If I catch flight, it's gonna be direct. Drake, but I'm not mad at a sneak diss, huh? A good sneak diss.
Subliminals that were pushed through visuals. Drake made the situation even messier when he sent
Travis Scott
saying,
I'm wearing your boss's stuff
for Utopia for the song Meltdown, and straight up dissed Pharrell and Push on this album as he rapped about buying Pharrell's chains, and then he made a claim that after showing them off, he didn't just do anything with them, but he melted them down.
Oh, okay, I guess he said that on that.
Literally a featured producer on Travis's Utopia album. This definitely made things complicated, but now fast forward to this year, and all of this came full circle as when Kendrick Lamar released his first full-on Drake diss track, Euphoria. He called out Drake for the strange way he has been taunting Pharrell over and over again after his beef with Pusha T, and then pretty much told Drake that
I don't like you popping at Pharrell. For him, I inherit the beef. See, and that's why Kendrick said, I don't like you popping shit Pharrell, because Drake has been dissing him. There's a lot of things where sometimes I feel like the people who tell these stories don't know the context, and I just assume everybody knows the same context that I do, but that's why, because they've been beefing Drake and Pharrell
anymore, because he is inheriting the beef for him. And now, even with this warning, Drake did not stop taunting Pharrell, as on his supposed-to-be career-ending diss for Kendrick, Family Matters, which of course flopped. Drake mentioned him here again, and sent out a jab that the entire world was watching to see, which was when Drake told Kendrick that if he wanted to take over the beef for Pharrell, Kendrick would have to go himself and get Pharrell's legacy out of Drake's house. And now, while these bars were responding directly to what Kendrick said, in the Family Matters video, we see one of Drake's OVO members rocking the same chains from Pharrell that Drake rocked back in the Jumbotron Poppin' video. And then also with even more chains that belonged to Pharrell on him this time. And this was seemingly another visual jab
that was thrown at Pharrell
to try and insult him, his legacy, and Pusha T, while also, of course, insulting Kendrick at the same time. And now, after Pharrell quietly responded to Drake this summer,
that's what I was talking about.
Yep, the Despicable Me 4 soundtrack, where he silently just reminded Drake of the fact that despite all of his efforts to try and make him snap, that he is the one sitting back and watching Drake's career now implode because of his own failure throughout his entire beef with Kendrick and through all of the other poor choices he made in his career over the past few years. And now, as in this time where everyone was coming at Drake, Pharrell was just too involved with big brand parts.
Daft Punk in the headshots for a year. You better walk around like damn. Remember? Hey, Top Dog, who they think they playing with?
Partnerships between his role in doing the soundtrack for Despicable Me 4, doing his own Lego movie about his life, and designing for Louis Vuitton to drag down everything he was working for to get involved in such a messy beef with Drake. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the type of brands that Pharrell was working with, his deals with companies like Lego or Illumination just would have folded. Because no family brand wants to be anywhere near the types of names that Drake was being called. Now that he has completed all of those quests and he has been named as the Designer of the Year from GQ, Pharrell's year of just pushing the boundaries for what someone in the hip-hop space can do.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like I said, anybody can get it, you know, and I think Pharrell's catching a lot. People are thinking that, like, Pharrell's catching a lot because he's friends with Pusha T, and it's like, no, it's the other way around. It is. But Cash Money, Young Money has never rocked with that side. Whether it's, they might not F with Chad. Nigga, like, they never have since what happened to that boy? If you don't know the story of that, do your Googles, man. Yeah. So, but I will say, beefing with Pharrell? I don't know. If I had to beef with Pharrell and he did something to me, I'd do it. But I ain't gonna act like by myself. I wouldn't be like, God damn, I really was beefing with Pharrell, man. That hurts my hip hop heart. You know what I mean? Like,
can do is now officially over. And as Pharrell is wrapping things up,
Pharrell responded though.
His year, he sat down in this interview with GQ and answered some questions about the current state of his career and things going on around his name. And for the first time, he has finally addressed everything that has been going on between him and Drake, and with the answers he has given, Drake is probably crashing out and fuming hearing this, because after an in-depth conversation between Pharrell and GQ, where he is providing some
talk your shit, Pharrell, go, fight back.
Endeavors, Pharrell got asked, 2 years ago, you founded an online auction platform. To launch it, you got all of your iconic custom jewelry stuff from, let's call it your hubris era, out of storage and sold it.
What a great era.
Weighing on you? Which, first off, Pharrell answered to this, I didn't realize. You never realize how much all the stuff you have weighs on you, but it does. You don't know it until you get rid of it. The muscles in my back now, they work without straining. When you let that
That's a
go,
bar.
man, you feel so free. It doesn't mean it
Oh, this
doesn't
nigga
exist in the
rapping.
world, it's still there. And whatever happens to them happens to them. Which, first off, from this, Pharrell is already showing that he doesn't really care about these chains at all. And then from here, the conversation shifts as the interviewer says,
Strategic.
in this case, Drake buys a bunch of it. Which then all Pharrell says back is, sure. And then following up on this, the journalist asks, how and when did you find out he was the buyer, and were you like, is this for? And before the journalist can even finish what he is saying, Pharrell butts in saying no, because I think beyond all of the ongoings, at the heart of it all, he is a fan of music. He is a fan of the history of what it is, and I happen to be a part of that, and those artifacts are a part of it. So pretty much what Pharrell is doing.
Basically, let me tell you something. Pharrell is a super positive, so let me translate this. You a fan, 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 fat ass. He love me. Oh, I know you ain't talking. Oh, you love my style. He hit him with the Nas, what was it, Ether intro. Oh, you love my style, man. You a fan, gang. It don't matter. Let me strip that away and let you know that didn't affect me. I don't care about them chains, bro. But let me also say, yeah, he a fan, you know. I'm a part of history, and so he a fan of the music, and he a fan of me being a part of that. That's what I feel. That's what I get from it.
Fanboy, and is not even getting into the mud of the issues, which is a clear power move on his end to disarm any strength that he had left. And then from here, the interviewer asks again, so when you found out he bought them, you were like, cool? Which then Pharrell simply responds, yeah. And then ultimately the interviewer
what's he supposed to do?
And then when he was rapping about melting the jewelry down and saying, come get his legacy out my house and all that stuff, how did that strike you? To which Pharrell says, it didn't. And even with him asking this same question again.
This is how Pharrell diss a nigga. Pharrell this skateboard P at the end of the day. You know what I mean? But don't act like this ain't the nigga that said, with the still that make you feel like chinchilla in the heat. Pharrell be having some of the nastiest feature verses, bro. His Drop It Like It's Hot. He said the interior like suicide wrist rags. I can magnify you just to be your face. Oh, what?
Get his legacy out my house and all that stuff. How did
the
that
steel to make you feel like chinchilla in the heat?
Didn't. And even with him asking this same question again, Pharrell closes off this saying one word, which is no. And so now with all of this, and the fact that after this exchange, Pharrell says that he got rid of those chains in the first place because they had absolutely no value to him anymore. He can see once again that despite years of Drake instigating and trying to make Pharrell snap for the way he just nonstop taunted him, for what he thought was owning his
He handled that right.
Is that Pharrell didn't just care about any of this, but that he is really so above these childish antics at this point in his life. And now for someone of Pharrell's stature, who has shown that he is one of the most professional and respectable people working in the music business today, this makes complete and total sense that Drake flaunting the chains that he got rid of in the first place, and Drake saying that he melted them down, did not faze him once, because to reach the point of success Pharrell is at, he obviously has the maturity and discipline to let things go that in the grand.
Let me say another thing about Drake's everything since the beef with the DeRozan stuff, with the getting on stage and doing the speech. Drake also placed himself, like I said, Drake is clearly on crash out mode. He's on his villain arc. I don't think he cares anymore. I think in the beginning they cared about what it looked like. I think he don't care if people clown him for being upset or being like that, which it is what it is. I get why he'd be upset. The thing that I think he's positioning himself, since he decided to be, it's crash out time now, I'm pulling up to niggas' games. I don't care if they say I'm emotional, I'm doing it. The way that he's gonna lose again. He's gonna lose again. Because you notice how even DeRozan, how Pharrell have responded. Because now that you're on the when it was time for war, everybody was on war ready. And they're But once it's over and you've lost, now all they gotta do is go, look at this nigga. Look at this nigga mad. You mad. You mad. That's all they have to do, and that's essentially what they're doing. DeRozan's not like, I dare you to take that down. Yeah, he gonna say, he has a long way to climb. Meaning, you got a long way to come back from where you was. Pharrell not gonna say, man, he took my chains, melted them down. He gonna say, I don't care about them chains, bro. Did that strike you? No, nigga. Boy, a fan. You know? So that's as easy. So now the strategy to beat you is just, make you look as mad as you are. So it's like I don't know.
Grand picture of it all don't really matter or advance his creative goals forward. Which also on top of the fact that Drake didn't actually melt Pharrell's chains. This is why in this interview, you can tell that what Pharrell is saying here isn't even him lying, trying to throw off Drake, or just speaking in a manner that's trying to troll him. But he is really just talking his truth here and letting Drake know that all of his disses on him were pathetic, and that for actual grown men who live lives that he is jealous of and who get in rooms that he will never because he lacks the maturity and discipline to, that he is just above all of these antics.
Saying Drake will never get into the rooms that Pharrell has is a bit of a reach. I know this nigga Hip Hop Uncensored hates Drake with a fire-breathing passion. I don't, nigga. But that's a bit of a reach. Now but like, what did Pharrell do? GQ named him the best what's it called, designer, which is great. But if Drake became a designer, not to say what, but it's like, to say Drake could never get some of them stuffs is weird, because there's certain things that Drake has done as a rapper that you could argue Pharrell might not do, where it comes, you know what I mean, numbers wise, stuff like that. But to say Drake, you acting like Drake is a charity case. Now where he is, I don't know. You know, his cachet has gone down, his brand has taken a hit. So, and of course Pharrell is a legend, and when it comes to respect in the game, that boy is on the Mount Rushmore up there, right? But to say Drake will never, you just made a blanketed statement. Like, what do you think Drake can't do to this? I mean, this nigga, Drake can, GQ gonna definitely put Drake on there if you know what I mean? Like,
all of these antics. And after so long of Drake trying to build this grand moment between him and Pharrell, having the payoff to it just be Pharrell telling us that he doesn't care about any of it.
It's
and that
over, bro, because it's over.
Is absolutely hilarious and is really just adding another L to Drake's resume. Because we are seeing another attempt at him instigating and escalating conflict just fall flat on his face and only make him look worse. So all in all, as Drake is being handed yet another L by Pharrell, and joining the likes of someone like Kendrick Lamar, just absolutely making him look like a child.
Yeah, and I forgot Kendrick's interview. So Kendrick, DeMar, and Pharrell are all, if you pay attention, running the same play against Drake, and it's working lovely. Remember, because Drake's whole angle was I'm not bothered. So he clearly is the most bothered person, which I already knew to make sense. But now their angle is we're not bothered. You already lost. That's the angle with the whole Kendrick Super Bowl. There's no round two, game twos.
Interview. Which the fact that beyond music now Drake is getting humiliated in magazines is just hilarious. But all in all with this, hopefully Pharrell making Drake look this pathetic in such a professional space finally makes the message reach his head that Drake just has to grow up. And so now with all that said, let me know. What do you think of how Pharrell responded to Drake's years of taunting, and do you think this was getting even more flack right now because he is making rappers defend him and just look like absolute clowns in the worst way, as by rappers coming out and trying to change?
Yeah, well, that's a different thing to cover. But yeah, like I said, bro, I just want Drake drop some raps. Just drop some raps. Man, give me, I'm gonna keep saying this. Give me a Tuscan leather where you address the last 6 months of your life on like a Tuscan leather type beat. Boy, give me a timestamp. Give me something where you talk that talk. It would be, if you know how Kendrick took his timestamp record, what do you call it, 616 in LA? If he made a record called 716 in LA or something like that, man. But I could be wrong too. We haven't seen this. But like, I'm not on the I hate Drake forever bandwagon, but I will say that he's laid a lot of landmines and traps for himself that we haven't even seen the full backlash of this battle. And that's crazy to say because it's bad. But you let me know what you think.